Welcome back. Good to have you joining us as always. You're watching Ozarks Tonight. I'm David Oliver. We're going to see a pretty significant change in terms of our Springfield Police Department. The City Council has approved the purchase of body cameras for officers here in Springfield. We're going to talk about that and a couple of other issues affecting our local police department. I'm joined by one of our regular guests here on the broadcast, Police Chief Paul Williams, joining us through Zoom tonight. Chief, good to see you.
Good to see you too, David. Thanks for having me on again.
Absolutely. We're always glad when you're here. So last week, the City Council approved the purchase of these new body cameras. I have to imagine there's a lot of moving parts that have to happen, and a lot of things, discussions have to go on before we actually see these things put in place. Talk about where you are in that process and what it's going to mean for your department.
Sure. So the most important thing, Council approved not only the funds for the purchase, but the contract with Motorola to use their WatchGuard body-worn camera system. So that's in motion now, and we're just waiting on delivery of the product, which should be probably within the next 3 months. And then there'll be training for all the officers before we roll them out. I'm still looking at them being on the officers in the field, and this will be every uniform officer on the Springfield Police Department, about 240 of them, sometime January probably of 2021. Along with that, we've been developing a policy on the use of these cameras. So draft of that policy has been through an internal review, and then I actually took it to my Chief Citizen Advisory Group on Monday, had a lengthy discussion, and we made some revisions based on what they wanted to see. So I'm looking forward to that component marrying up with the training and the implementation of the cameras, and them actually being out on the street, being used by officers sometime after the first of the year.
I'm going to guess that your policy probably isn't quite ready to go public yet, but what can you tell me in terms of what your hopes are as we implement this, like you said, possibly by January 2021?
Well, I think there's two main goals. One is increased transparency on what officers do and when they do them, and the interactions that we have with citizens. And I think that will increase the trust and accountability in that relationship we have with our citizens. The second thing is from an evidentiary perspective. I'm working with the prosecutor's office. There's going to be a lot more data, a lot more information available for the prosecutor's office as well. So I think those two things, when you add a component of audio video recordings in addition to what we already process, I think both of those things will be very positive moving forward.
What's been the reaction by your team of officers down there to this news? What are they saying to you?
Oh, I think they're comfortable with it. You know, I have a much younger police force every year, and this generation is very comfortable with audio video recordings and cell phone cameras. So, and I think they're very comfortable with the fact that anybody, anytime can be recording them anyway. So the fact that they're going to have a record themselves, I think adds a little bit of a comfort. But comfortable in actually having the cameras, that's something I think we're going to have to get used to. It's another piece of equipment attached to the uniform, and where it's going to be and how we're going to use that. But overall, they're accepting and ready for it to happen.
Chief, I work with a lot of young people too who are way more tech savvy than me, so don't feel bad about that, sir.
Absolutely.
Just throwing that out there. Let's change gears. I want to talk about another new program that you all are implementing. It's the Share the Road Motorcycle Survival Course. It's a one-day course designed to keep our motorcycle riders a little bit safer out there on the road. Tell me how this thing came to be and what the goal is with this new program.
So before this year, and we applied for a grant from MoDOT through the Highway Traffic Safety Commission to get this money, because my traffic officers saw an increased occurrences of speed and reckless driving behavior on the part of motorcyclists. And then a component of that is the rest of the driving public not being aware or being surprised by that. And that as we're going through this granting process, unfortunately, the very negative consequences of those things coming together, we've had a huge spike in the number of traffic fatalities involving motorcyclists. Half of our traffic fatalities in 2020 have involved motorcyclists, and speed and reckless behavior seems to be the #1 cause. So applied for 2 grants. One, there's an enforcement aspect, but this is the one I'm really excited about. It's going to be a program the officers have put together, free training for people who operate a motorcycle on how to do that safely. So bringing members of the public in, being taught by our experienced traffic officers who ride motors every day, on how to do that safely, the rules of the road, what to be aware of, how to keep yourself safe while you're motoring out there in the roadways. I think is going to be a huge benefit. And then we're going to roll out an educational component of this for everyone on being aware of motorcyclists on the roadway. So looking forward to that kicking off here in the spring.
What kind of interest have you seen in that?
Well, we did a pilot program, not part of the grant, just on our own with city employees. And my motor officers put the training program together. We offered it to city employees just to see how it worked. And, 15 to 20 people signed up for that the first time. So if that's an indication of the interest and level of participation we might have from the public, I think it's going to be a huge success.
Okay. I got about a minute and a half left on the broadcast in a segment here, Chief. Talk about your Citizens Police Academy. You just graduated the group this last week for this year, but you guys are talking about having perhaps 2 classes in 2021 because you've seen an increase in interest of those who want to take part in that class, right?
Absolutely. We've been holding that annual class every year, and usually about 25 people or so. But we had such a huge spike in the level of interest, had over 65, 70 applicants this year, and more than 25 that were qualified. So we graduated this class. We already have plans to have a second class in the spring of 2021, so be looking for that. Some of those spots are already filled with these qualified, interested citizens, but we're going to open that up again, and then we will have our regular class in the fall of 2021. So 2 classes upcoming. It's a great class. Just had graduation last week. All the comments from the attendees were positive. Even some who came in with some negative feelings about law enforcement ended that class with talking about how impressed they were with the personnel we have here and how much they learned about what goes on in a police department kind of behind the scenes to help them understand why things happen that we might see on the news or out there in the public.
Well, you did a similar class for those of us in the media about a year ago, and I went through it, and it was eye-opening for me because I'd done this a long time, been covering folks like yourself a long time, and I learned a lot just by going through the little media class you did. Real fast, tell me how folks can sign up for those classes next year if they have interest.
So it'll be on the website. There's when we open that back up, be paying attention to our social media posts, and hopefully our friends here in the traditional media will help share the information. But it'll be on the website, the application, and the process to do both of those. Okay,
Chief Paul Williams, Springfield Police, I appreciate your time, sir. I'll invite you back again soon, all right?
Sounds good. Thank you, David.
Okay, thank you, sir. More Ozarks Tonight after this quick break.